They had no touchscreens, no GPS, no auto idle, just raw iron, leaking hydraulics, and operators who could dig a perfectly level trench by feel alone. The 1980s was the decade that separated legendary machines from forgotten metal. Some of these backhoes are still running on job sites today, 40+ years later, and they still get the job done. These are the 10 best backhoes from the 1980s that deserve every ounce of respect you've got. Number 10. Ford 555, 1978 to 1984. We're starting with a machine that launched one of the most beloved backhoe series in American construction history, the Ford 555. The original Ford 555 was introduced in 1978, replacing the Ford 4500 and establishing a completely new flat-deck operator layout. What made this machine unique was its simplicity. It was powered by a 3-cylinder diesel engine with a 201 cubic inch displacement, producing 57 horsepower at 2,200 RPM. It developed 160 foot-pounds of torque at just 1,200 RPM, meaning it didn't have to scream to do its job. The bore and stroke were both 4.4 inches, with a compression ratio of 16.3 to 1. The 555 had 6 forward gears and 4 reverse gears. The standard backhoe dug to 14 feet. The machine weighed roughly 13,750 pounds in backhoe configuration, and the fuel tank held 24 gallons of diesel. Hydraulic flow was 27 gallons per minute, and the steering flow ran at 5.9 gallons per minute. Then in 1984 came the Ford 555A, an improved version that added better transmission options and more responsive hydraulics. The 555A also offered a 15-foot backhoe as an option while keeping the proven 14-foot standard setup. The engine remained a 3-cylinder diesel, now producing approximately 62 horsepower. What operators loved about the 555 series was its mechanical simplicity. Everything was accessible, everything was straightforward, and parts were plentiful. Farmers, municipalities, and small contractors across North America ran these machines hard for decades. The 555 series would continue evolving through the 555B, 555C, 555D, and beyond. But it all started right here at the dawn of the 1980s. That kind of legacy doesn't happen by accident. It happens because the original machine was right. Number 9. Ford 555B, 1985 to 1988. Right on the heels of the 555A came the Ford 555B, and this is where the series really hit its stride during the heart of the 1980s. The 555B was manufactured from 1985 to 1988, and it carried the torch of the original 555's mechanical simplicity while adding real improvements under the hood. It was powered by a Ford 4-cylinder diesel engine, a step up from the 3-cylinder used in earlier models, with either a manual or torque converter transmission depending on configuration. Horsepower was rated at approximately 63 horsepower, and the machine produced reliable, consistent torque for digging and loading. The standard backhoe depth remained at 14 feet, and the operating weight came in around 13,000 pounds. Hydraulic system pressure ran between 2,500 and 2,800 psi, giving the 555B solid digging force for its class. The loader bucket held a full cubic yard. What set the 555B apart was its reputation for balance. between performance and simplicity, between capability and maintainability. Mechanics who worked on these machines consistently praised the easy access to service points and the wide availability of replacement parts. Unlike some competitors, you didn't need specialty tooling or a dealership down the street to keep a 555B running. Contractors who had both the 555A and the 555B consistently called the B model the better all-around machine. And in the world of heavy iron, when operators say that kind of thing about a 30-year-old machine, you know it's something special. Many heavy equipment historians and enthusiasts today consider the 555B the best classic Ford backhoe ever made, the sweet spot in a legendary lineup. It balanced power, parts availability, and reliability better than any other model in the series. Number 8. John Deere 310B 1982 to 1986. Now we move to green paint. The John Deere 310B was manufactured from 1982 to 1986 in Dubuque, Iowa, and it was one of the most capable mid-size backhoes of the early decade. Under the hood, the 310B ran a John Deere 4.219D four-cylinder diesel engine with a displacement of 3.6 liters, 219 cubic inches. The cylinder bore was 4.02 inches, the piston stroke was 4.33 inches, and the compression ratio was 16.2 to 1. Peak power output was 65 horsepower at 2,500 RPM, with a maximum torque of 217 Newton-meters, about 160 foot-pounds, delivered at 1,300 RPM. That low RPM torque made this machine an excellent digger. The transmission was a power shuttle unit with 8 forward and 8 reverse gears, giving operators excellent control in tight work environments. Maximum forward travel speed was 16.4 miles per hour. The closed-center hydraulic system used a piston pump rated at 30.5 gallons per minute, with a system pressure of 162 bar, that's 2,350 psi. The wheelbase measured 82 inches. Standard rear tires were 16.9-24, with optional 19.5L-24 rubber for softer ground. The loader's maximum lift height was 129 inches at the pin, and bucket dump clearance measured 105.5 inches. The 310B featured a 4-post ROPS, or optional cab, and the fuel tank held 19.5 US gallons. What made the 310B respected was its combination of proven mechanical reliability and the 8-speed power shuttle transmission, which at the time was considered a significant advantage in terms of operator comfort and productivity. Operators who ran the 310B for utility work, septic installation, and general excavation praised its consistency and the durability of its steel boom. The 310B also served as a platform that Deere would refine into the long-running 310C and beyond, proving that the design philosophy behind this machine was fundamentally sound. Number 7. John Deere 410B 1983 to 1986. If the 310B was the workhorse, the John Deere 410B was the heavyweight. Built from 1983 to 1986, the 410B was designed for large contractors, heavy excavation, and municipal work that demanded serious digging power. Like the 310B, the 410B was powered by the John Deere 4219D engine, a 3.6-liter four-cylinder diesel displacing 219 cubic inches. The bore was 4.02 inches. The stroke was 4.33 inches, and compression was 16.2 to 1. But the 410B was tuned to deliver 62 horsepower net at 2,500 RPM with 155.9 foot-pounds of torque at 1,300 RPM, while the headline number was slightly lower than the 310B's gross rating. The 410B made up for it in sheer size and structural capacity. The machine weighed 14,400 pounds, about 1,200 pounds heavier than the 310B, and was available in both 2WD and 4WD configurations. The 2WD wheelbase was 82.7 inches and the overall length measured 276 inches. Width was 80.7 inches. The fuel tank capacity was 23 US gallons. The 410B was built for larger digging tasks. Its boom and dipper stick were heavier duty than the 310B's, and the machine's hydraulics were designed to deliver more breakout force. Contractors running foundation work, water and sewer installation, and road utility work valued the 410B for its structural integrity. Available in ROPS canopy or full cab, with optional heat and air conditioning, the 410B could be configured for nearly any job site condition. The optional 4WD system made it capable on soft ground and muddy terrain, where 2WD machines struggled. The 410B legacy is cemented by the fact that John Deere continued refining and building the 410 line for decades after, a direct testament to how well the original design held up under real-world conditions. Number 6. Case 580D Construction King, 1980 to 1983. Now we get into true legend territory. The Case 580D Construction King, introduced in 1980, is one of the most historically significant backhoes ever built, and operators who ran it will tell you that without hesitation. Manufactured by J.I. Case from 1980 to 1983, the 580D was powered by the J.I. Case G207D engine, a 3.4-liter four-cylinder naturally aspirated diesel with a displacement of exactly 207 cubic inches. The cylinder bore was 4.02 inches, the piston stroke was 4.13 inches, and the compression ratio was 17.0 to 1. Power output was 60 horsepower at 2,100 RPM. The transmission was a sliding spur gear unit with a torque converter and power shuttle, offering 4 forward and 4 reverse gears. The 580D was equipped with hydrostatic power steering and featured a full cab option, along with a fuel tank holding 22 US gallons. One of the most significant engineering features of the 580D and the entire 580B through E series was its twin-cylinder over-center boom design. Case mounted 2 hydraulic cylinders on the sides of the backhoe boom rather than a single cylinder. This provided exceptional digging force and gave the machine a distinct visual identity that operators recognized immediately from a distance. This same design ran through the 580B, C, D, and E, all 14-foot class backhoes. The 580D also offered an optional hydraulic telescoping extender hoe that could reach from 14 to 18 feet, a massive advantage in deep trench work where competitors couldn't go without additional equipment. One of the most important facts about this machine: the Case 580D was one of the only backhoes of its era that did not use a clutch in its drivetrain. While competitors still required operators to clutch all day long, fatiguing work in heavy construction, Case had moved to a torque converter transmission. That difference in operator fatigue over an 8-hour shift was enormous, and it was one reason that experienced operators consistently chose Case machines. The 580D Construction King is more than a backhoe. It's a piece of American construction history. Number 5. Case 580E. Following the 580D came the Case 580E. also known as the 580 Super E, and it represents the peak of the classic 580 series during the 1980s. The 580E carried forward the proven twin-cylinder boom design and the strong hydraulic system from its predecessors, while adding meaningful upgrades. The transmission was a synchronized shuttle shift with 4 forward and 4 reverse gears. The loader bucket capacity remained at 1 cubic yard, with a maximum lift capacity of 5,200 pounds. The hydraulics were updated with a standard 4-spool valve to operate the loader and backhoe attachments independently and efficiently. One important detail that confuses many people: many 580E machines carry a decal simply reading 580E, while the serial number plate identifies the machine as a 580 Super E. The 580E and the 580 Super E are the same machines, different labeling periods, same iron. The 580E's steering hydraulics were integrated into the main hydraulic pump, rather than using a separate steering pump as earlier models did, a simplification that reduced potential failure points. The 4-wheel drive steering cylinders on 4WD-equipped versions were slightly longer to accommodate 8-lug wheels, a subtle engineering refinement that showed attention to detail. Parts availability for the 580E has historically been outstanding. One of the reasons used 580E machines command respect and solid resale values even today. Mechanics consider the 580E one of the most practical used backhoes to buy because parts are plentiful, inexpensive, and widely understood. If the 580D was the machine that defined Case's reputation in the early decade, the 580E was the machine that sealed it. Number 4. Caterpillar 416, 1985 to 1990. In 1985, Caterpillar entered the backhoe loader market in a serious way, and they did it with a machine that immediately turned heads. The Caterpillar 416 was manufactured from 1985 to 1990, and it brought a level of engineering refinement that the market hadn't seen before. The Cat 416 was powered by a Perkins 4.236 4-cylinder direct injection diesel engine, a 236 cubic inch power plant rated at 62 horsepower, with a maximum torque of 267 Newton meters or 197 foot-pounds at 1,350 RPM. That torque figure was impressive for its class. The transmission was a power shuttle unit with a single-stage torque converter, available in both 2WD and 4WD configurations. The hydraulic system was a closed-center load-sensing design with a variable displacement axial piston pump, technically sophisticated for its time, rated at 28.5 gallons per minute. Hydraulic pressure was 186 bar, or 2,700 psi. The front loader had a lift capacity of 5,250 pounds at the bucket pin to a maximum height of 10 feet 10 inches. Breakout force at the bucket was 7,785 pounds. Maximum road travel speed was 19.7 miles per hour, notably quick for a backhoe loader of the period. The 2WD wheelbase was 83 inches. What made the Cat 416 historic was simply the fact that it was a Caterpillar. The yellow paint, the dealer network, the parts availability, and the brand's reputation for durability made the 416 an instant choice for contractors who were already loyal to Cat equipment. And critically, it delivered on that reputation. The closed-center load-sensing hydraulic system gave operators more precise control than the open-center systems found on many competitors, and the Perkins engine was a proven bulletproof power plant used across the construction industry worldwide. Cat would later refine the 416 into the 416B, 416C, and beyond. But this original model from 1985 is where the Cat backhoe legacy truly began. For that, it absolutely deserves its place on this list. Number 3. JCB 3CX Sitemaster 1985. Number 3 is a machine from across the Atlantic, and it might be the single most influential backhoe ever built. Ladies and gentlemen, the JCB 3CX Sitemaster. The first JCB 3CX Sitemaster backhoe loader was produced in 1985, and in that same year, JCB sold their 100,000th backhoe, a milestone that underscored just how dominant the British manufacturer had become in this segment of the market. The 3CX Sitemaster would go on to become JCB's most popular backhoe loader of all time. The original 3CX Sitemaster ran a 4-liter Perkins diesel engine with a semi-automatic gearbox. It featured a front clamshell bucket with fold-over pallet forks, a 6-in-1 front attachment system that gave operators enormous versatility without additional equipment. The rear backhoe arm was telescopic, an extending dipper arm with a lifting hook, meaning it could reach significantly farther than standard fixed-arm machines. The standard dig depth of the 3CX Sitemaster configuration measures approximately 13 feet 11 inches with the standard arm, extending well beyond 15 feet with the telescopic dipper fully extended. Reach from the slewing pivot was approximately 17 feet 7 inches. The front loader load height was 12 feet 6 inches. What made the 3CX revolutionary wasn't any single feature. It was the combination: a versatile front bucket system, a telescopic rear arm, and a compact overall package that could access spaces other backhoes couldn't. The machine was designed from the ground up to be the master of all jobs on any worksite. JCB's description at the time was precise and accurate. The 3CX Sitemaster introduced the modern backhoe loader to the world. And that's not marketing language, that's history. In 1988, just 3 years after the 3CX debuted, JCB revealed the JCB GT, powered by a Chevrolet V8 engine and capable of 100 miles per hour. It was a publicity stunt, but it showed the confidence of a manufacturer who knew they'd built something special with the 3CX platform. The 3CX Sitemaster is still in production today, decades after its introduction. That is not an accident. That is engineering greatness. Number 2. John Deere 310C, late 1980s. Coming in at number 2, we have the machine that many experienced operators, people who have run dozens of backhoes over 30-year careers, consistently name as their favorite machine from the era: the John Deere 310C. The 310C represented a significant evolution from the 310B. Improved hydraulics, a more refined cab, better cold weather starting performance, and an enhanced transmission made the 310C the daily driver of choice for utility contractors, municipalities, and agricultural users across North America. The 310C continued using John Deere's proven 4-cylinder diesel power plant with improved fuel delivery and hydraulic response over the 310B. The floor-mounted cab heater, a detail that sounds minor but mattered enormously to operators in northern climates, was a notable practical improvement over the ceiling-mounted heater in the competing Case 580D, which operators frequently complained was insufficient and led to fogged glass on cold mornings. The 310C simply started easier, ran warmer, and was more comfortable to operate through a full winter. The optional 4WD variant with extender hoe gave the 310C serious versatility. A 1989 310C in 4WD configuration with the extending dipper was a legitimate all-season, all-terrain machine that could handle septic systems, utility trenching, foundation digging and material loading without compromise. Some 310C machines have accumulated over 8,000 hours with their original powertrains and only routine maintenance, a figure that speaks directly to the durability of the design. The machine's simple two-stick backhoe controls were intuitive, and the quality of the loader frame, unlike the competing John Deere 410 series, which some operators cited for loader frame weakness, was robust and durable. The 310C is the machine that cemented John Deere's reputation as a serious backhoe manufacturer. For experienced operators, it's not just good, it's great. Number 1. The Case 580. This isn't about one machine, it's about the machine that defined an entire industry. By the time the 1980s arrived, the backhoe loader wasn't new, but what Case did with the 580 series turned it into something unstoppable. The Case 580 wasn't just another piece of equipment. It became the standard that every other manufacturer was forced to chase, and that matters. Because when you look across job sites in the 1980s, from small farms to major construction projects, one machine kept showing up again and again. The Case 580 wasn't just popular, it was everywhere. But here's the difference. It earned that position. The twin-cylinder over-center boom design gave operators digging power that felt completely different from anything else on the market. It wasn't just stronger, it was more controlled, more predictable. Operators could feel the machine working with them instead of against them. Then there was the torque converter transmission. While other machines still forced operators to clutch constantly, wearing out both the machine and the man running it, Case eliminated that problem. No clutch, no wasted motion, just smooth, continuous operation hour after hour. Over a 10-hour day, that wasn't a small improvement, that was everything. And then came the extender hoe. 14 feet to 18 feet of reach without bringing in another machine. That single feature changed how trenching jobs were planned. It saved time, it saved money, and it made the 580 one of the most versatile machines ever built. But the real reason this machine takes the #1 spot isn't found in a spec sheet, it's found in what happened after. Operators didn't just use the 580, they stuck with it. Contractors who bought a 580D didn't switch brands later. They upgraded to another Case, and then another. Entire fleets were built around this platform. That kind of loyalty doesn't come from marketing. It comes from a machine that starts every morning, works all day, and asks for nothing more than fuel and basic maintenance. Even today, more than 40 years later, there are Case 580 machines still running, still digging, still earning their keep on real job sites. Think about that. The companies that built some of its competitors are gone. The models have disappeared. But the 580, it's still here because it wasn't just built to compete. It was built to last. And in the world of heavy equipment, that's the only thing that matters. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button and subscribe. Leave a comment below. Which of these machines have you run? Which one would you pick if you could only have one? I want to know. I'll see you in the next one.